We're all ready to get this show on the road here and make sure this is recording. Yeah. Perfect. Awesome. Well, it's good to see everybody this evening. I think it was a good move to do this virtually here instead of all of us running over to Trinity. We try to get there in time after my other previous meeting.
Oh, it's cold anyway.
Miserable. Yeah. We'll have to push Meredith's birthday cake off to our next meeting, but we'll have more time for it and more people to rally. Meredith, our treasurer, for those who are unaware. Meredith, would you like to go in and start reading our financial membership update?
Sure. So currently in total assets, we have $3,253.67. The breakdown is in the agenda. Since November, that is after our expenditures since November 30th, which have included website hosting, neighborhood signs for meeting reminder neighborhood signs, our Zoom account, which is timely, and the FOIA request for Penrose Park. We also have 74 total dues paying members as of yesterday, which I believe is still accurate. And that would be folks who are dues paying and up to date, you know, and thus eligible to vote, as we'll talk about, but also that does not include several lapsed members. So if I sent you an email, please, if you would like to vote in elections, get your dues back in. So that is all. And if you have any questions about whether or not you are in fact current and up to date on dues paying, please let Alex or me know. So that's about it.
Absolutely. All right, we'll jump here to neighborhood business and various updates. Tara, did you want to give us an update on the environmental committee regarding the ash trees, Earth Day?
I sure do. Yep. So the somebody thankfully called attention on one of their walks or jogs that 8 pretty good size trees were cut down between Syphax and the Meyerton. So it's not a street mostly traveled by, you know, us. But I followed up and got some pictures. Somebody got me some good pictures, which I sent to the urban forester. And his response was one of them was dead and the others were infected with the emerald ash borer, and that they will be replaced. But that was the extent of the commitment. And then as far as tree canopy fund, we had real problems with them this year, and they have not been resolved. And I'm extremely disappointed in the way it was handled, or actually not handled. So just to reiterate, somebody trying to put in an application, she tried 5 or 6 times before she contacted me. I went over, I retook her pictures, and we tried it again. It didn't work. And then we came over my house and tried it from my computer and my cell phone, and it wouldn't go through. So I used Safari, she used Chrome. I had my neighbor who's an IT person try. He couldn't get it through. 3 or 4 other people reported the same experiences. And I started writing letters to Eleanor and Kisha and Mackenzie, who are supposed to take care of these problems. And I got a lot of nothing back. And then I found out that Eleanor tried to tell the county board that it was problems on our end, not their end. But the problems are 100% on their end. And they need to own it and they need to fix it. And if they can't do that,
server or some other reporting method for them on their end with that,
they need to fix their problem. So if you can't do a simple thing like put in an application, then we have some real problems here, and that needs to be addressed by them. So,
So we have the Earth Day programming and then the new signs we got.
we got new signs. We're going to do something special for Earth Day, and I'm going to put a teaser out there pretty soon. I need Barbara Phillip to send me some couple of lines. But we have 3 guests. It's not a panel like what Margaret did with STEM, because who could replicate that? But we're going to have a diverse kind of input of different things that everybody could learn from and do for Earth Day, from gardening to soil to trees and appliances and everything else. So, by the way, I did report Penrose Park several times for the ice. It was a glacier through there for almost 3 weeks. It was so treacherous, I couldn't believe it. You couldn't even walk in there. And it took 3 phone calls to the county and a video finally to get them to do anything. So anyway, that's it for here.
And we, I should have put a picture of them. I'll put them on our Facebook. We got some great new Penrose meeting signs that we put out at the Thursday following a meeting. Let's say we put one out tomorrow in preparation for our next Wednesday in-person meeting, or whenever that would be, for next month. Or we would just do that next month. Never mind.
And we need people. We need people, Alex, to volunteer to take the signs and then to put them out like a couple of days before, and then remove them the next morning. But to kind of own the signs. I think we have 20 or 25.
I have to count them. I think 25. It would be great.
Yeah,
to have,
we want to do a perimeter and then some interior streets. So we need some volunteers to take some signs. Okay.
Let's see here. Dorothy, you want to jump in a quick RNAC report?
Yeah, we're just to let everyone know, we're going to change the agenda around a little bit. Alex is going to take a couple things, and I'm going to take a couple things that were in upcoming events and updates. Basically, I'm Darcy Kaufman. I'm glad to see everyone here, and it's always exciting to see everyone here, to be honest. I wanted to give you a brief report about the 2025 officer election update. I contacted a lot of people. A number of residents were contacted, and I had suggested names from a couple of our executive committee members, and the people that we ended up with and agreed to, we are younger folks, and that's good, and they bring a lot of energy, and I think will complement the effort of what we're trying to do with Penrose. I'll introduce briefly Laz Bosch. He's agreed to deal with the education committee, and Sylvia Cool, who's agreed to be chair of the events. Jenny Peterson, she's away with her family this week on a long prearranged vacation. So she agreed to run for secretary. We are still looking for someone to be treasurer. So if anyone's interested in that, please contact me. You can leave a brief note in the chat. That would be helpful, or we can talk, or you can send me a message through Facebook Messenger. The other thing I wanted to mention was that we are also looking for committee members, and we have 4 committees. I'm just giving a general shout out. I deal with neighborhood conservation. Terry deals with environmental, and I just mentioned what Laz and Sylvia. So what I would ask is, if you're interested in one of these committees, to please leave in the chat your name and how we can contact you, so the individual chairs can follow up. Now, I know I'm springing this up on our new chairs, but this came about as a last minute thing. So please forgive me. If you want to beat me up later with a broom or something, do so virtually. That's a bit of humor, but I can see that joke fell flat.
Okay, I'm laughing.
Yeah, okay, that's good. And then the other thing that on the volunteer committees, we we'll need folks that are coming up for the Blues Festival and the yearly picnic that we have. And we're looking at having Sylvia head those up for events, but we do need to get started planning, but Sylvia's taking the lead on that. So the rest of us will be helping her as the executive committee. And we want, so basically it's, yes, we need your help. Please don't be shy. And, oh, there's Sylvia. And then,
Sonia.
oh, sorry, Sonia.
No worries, no worries.
Thank you. I have a bad habit of mixing up names. Thank you, Sonia. And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. So anyway, we do need help from the community and the residents. And if you have good ideas for things that would be good, please share them with your, the chair of those committees. Thank you. I'm done, and I'll turn it over to Alex to explain more about voting and other good things coming our way.
Right. So this evening I'm going to be sending out, and Darcy's done a great job. I mean, she's been emailing a ton of people. This is not an easy task, getting people to run for these positions. And I see a couple folks in the chat here. Is it Ann Shu? You'll have to correct me.
Yes, yep. Anshu is good. Anshu, like on like an Anshu like a shoe, that's good. Anshu with the U sound is good. Sorry for my delay. I'm running between getting dinner and also taking care of some stuff for research. But I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. I got your cell number, and I got your email here, so we'll follow up. And are you at all? We need a treasurer. Does that appeal to you at all?
Treasurer, yes. Treasurer does appeal to me. Yes.
Okay. That would be awesome. And we have a bank account with PNC. Unfortunately, we don't have a PNC bank as we used to in Penrose. Meredith and I can tell you all about the struggles we went through and the 3 or 4 repeat trips to get that squared away. Not an easy task. So the hard work is over, and you have the 2 of us as well to help you with that. So we'll follow up after this, and that sounds great.
Right.
We'd love that. I don't think you're having competition for this one.
Okay.
Okay. So as mentioned, we'll put that out this evening, the online forum so everybody can vote. If there's anybody else who'd like to challenge any of the members we have 4 officer positions. I'm running for re-election as president. Meredith is running for election as vice president. Anshu would be running for treasurer, and Jenny Peterson would be running for secretary. So if anybody wants to throw their name in a hat for any of those, you're more than welcome, and we'll add you to the online forum, which will be open for the duration of a week and close down likely Thursday the 27th, where the results would then be read. Let's see here. What else we got? Career Center redevelopment. As everybody knows and drives past every day on South Walter Reed, we're going through the phase 1 of the Career Center redevelopment. I attend all the meetings there. I think I've put up most of the slideshow presentations from them, from the county staff, Jeff Chambers and the others from APS up on our Facebook page. I'm happy to disseminate those again if people are curious. I'm not going to do a deep dive into that, but that's ongoing, this first phase, until 2026, I believe. So the latest is on our Facebook. Happy to send that out again if there's interest. Let's see. So I do have good news. Segment C and D of our multimodal construction. Segment D is everything.
I'm sorry, I mean,
Go ahead, Carol. Is that Carol?
I didn't interrupt you, but while we're speaking about the Career Center, and first of all, thanks for all you do, because you're just amazing. And anyone who wants to run against you, I say good luck to anyone to do 1/10 of what you do. You're just awesome.
It's the easiest election of my life. It won't be easier matriculating up from this. I appreciate that. Thank you, Carol.
Well, I'm thinking call and JD on the call as well. Can you hear me?
Your reception's cutting out.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Yeah. We can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit too. Okay, thank you. I wanted to mention, well, I have you because I know you're also the president of the Columbia Pike Presidents, and are really great at getting things done, as is JD. I noticed somebody waiting for the 77 bus yesterday across from Fillmore Gardens, where there was a bus stop before, but now it's totally blocked by the Jersey barriers because of all the construction there. And the sign isn't there for the bus anymore, but the person was waiting for the bus there, and it's very dangerous because there's no safe place. There's no sidewalk there for them to stand, and it's very dark there at night. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention because I think the county needs to do something to either make it clear that the Art 77 isn't going to stop there, and they need to pick one of the other stops there, but it's just a very convenient stop for the people living in Fillmore Gardens. And there's a great risk of somebody being actually killed there. It was dark, and you couldn't even really see the person there, and they looked really uncomfortable standing there because it's just a Jersey barrier there. There's absolutely no safe location, and they would have to walk, I think, all the way down to whatever 9th Street or what have you, which is a little bit of a hike. So I'm assuming that's why they stood there. So particularly if people have a disability and they aren't able to ambulate that far. I just wanted to bring it to your attention and to JD's attention to see if the county can, just take a run by there and see if someone can't do something to address that situation. I hope that's not off topic.
No. Thank you, Carol. What street was this again? I'm sorry. I was trying to. You said it was.
Yeah. So it's right across from where like the Fillmore Garden office is. So there's normally a bus stop there for the Art 77 bus. So someone was waiting there. So it's as you go south, I guess is it south? Yeah. As you go towards Shirlington. So, the 77 turns off 6, makes a left, and then it goes down. There was a stop there where the playground was. And now it's just fencing and Jersey barriers, but there's no gap where somebody could safely stay behind the Jersey barrier if they're waiting for the bus, if in fact that's still a bus stop. So the bus stop sign is down, but people are used to using it as a bus stop. So it's just not clear if the bus stop's down because of the construction or if it's been moved and people shouldn't use it. But there just needs to be something to let people know, either don't use this bus stop, it's closed because of the construction, or to create some kind of a gap in the Jersey barriers there where people who are waiting for the bus are protected from the traffic.
Absolutely. And as Les put in the chat there, if you wanted to take a quick picture of me, I'm happy to get on the county about that. I've also been, speaking of Jersey barriers, I've also been on their case about inability of the art buses to make that, a safe right-hand turn coming out of South Courthouse Road as well, due to the Jersey barrier on the side there. And thankfully, that barrier is going to be removed by the end of the month. So,
oh, good.
Do that because it's been a mess.
Yeah, I'm happy to take a picture of where the spot I'm talking about tomorrow when it's light out. I don't think it'd come out really well if I tried to take it tonight, but yeah.
I'll CC you on a correspondence to the county about that. We'll see if they can get done with it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Let's see here. So segment C and D, multimodal construction, is all going to be completed this fall 2025. If you look at the project map, you're going to see the timeline going out to 2026, and that's only due to the after completion tree replanting, other kind of beautification efforts, shall we say, for that. So hopefully, God willing, we'll be out of the mess with segment C and D fall 2025. Segment D is everything South Wall 3 to Courthouse. Segment C is everything South Courthouse down past South Wall Street on your way to Freeman's Village Bridge. So my parents, unfortunately, well, fortunate for them, picked a good time to move out of West Hampton News development this past year and a half ago. So they've been totally surrounded by four walls of construction for the last 10 years, it seems. Let's see here, what else? So upcoming events and updates. As Terry had briefly mentioned, we're, and Darcy and everybody, we're always looking for volunteers for various volunteer opportunities, including the Blues Festival, our various committees. Meredith did a fantastic job this past year, giving new life to our, once yearly picnic. That was a huge smash success. Thank you to her for that. So I definitely want to give the floor, if they're interested in speaking, to our new committee chairs, Lazaro Bosch, who's for education, and then Tanya Poole will be our new events chair. So are you two interested in introducing yourself briefly?
Hi there, I'm Sonia Poole. I've lived here now for almost 2 years at this point, and it was really nice of some of the committee members to volunteer or suggest that I become the events person for the association. So I'm pretty excited about doing that and becoming the events person for you guys. Now, there's a couple of things that are coming up that I wanted to discuss with everybody to see if anybody was thinking that the timeline might work out. But the Easter egg hunt in Penrose Park, I didn't know if anybody was interested in still doing that, or if we're kind of behind the ball on getting that to be an event that we do. So if anybody has any suggestions, I am open to it, but I also
pull it off.
What was that?
Sonia, can you pull it off by then? Do you have enough time and help, you think?
The thing is I'm going to have to quickly send out like a sign up genius type of link and see if anybody is willing to participate. I can also, I can do that on the Facebook page and see there's a lot of activity on there usually. So I can see if anybody wants to like volunteer or maybe help me generate some ideas of what else can be done at that event. But it's coming up pretty fast. So I didn't know if you guys think that that is something that we should still proceed with.
Well, why don't you get a few ideas and then send them together to the executive committee, and we can follow up with you by email.
Okay.
And we should be having soon another executive committee meeting, and hopefully we can hash something out, see if it's something that we can help you with, or maybe it's something else we work on. But you had another idea too.
Now, I was also thinking of doing something once a month as well. I don't know how many businesses and what is included in our area, our Penrose Association boundaries, but I wanted to see if we could do maybe once a month. I go to each location, kind of film a little bit of it, show the Facebook community what the place is like, and say, okay, every, I don't know, first Tuesday, we all go and support that group after I do the filming of it. So we're like supporting our local businesses and everything. The only thing is if I do it once a month, do we have 12 businesses in the Penrose community that I can do that at?
Well, I'll let Alex, he's Pike's President's Group. He has some good ideas. Alex, you got anything that we can help
Great.
Sonia
And
with?
a million people you can get any growth with as well, including I know the Buy Nothing group on Columbia Pike is doing a lot of social events as well, a lot of business support. So I'm game for it all. So that sounds great.
Right.
I appreciate your
Sounds good.
It's certainly needed, but especially these days. So thank you so much.
Of course. And is there a place to, okay, so I know that it ends right at Columbia Pike, our neighborhood boundary. Is the Celtic House included in that?
So Celtic House is Columbia Heights neighborhood.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But everything south of the
You can be
Pike.
an honorary member too, though. Just kidding.
I like that idea.
Yeah. So I'll what I'll do is I will suggest, well, I'll gather a list of businesses that I think might be appropriate for the video newsreel thing that I was thinking about doing, and I will send them your way, Alex, and get your approval on those.
That would be great. Do you do videography? Is that part of it for job related?
I've done it in the past and I enjoy it. So
well, I'm a full-time professional photographer, so that sounds like a great partnership.
Awesome. Works for me.
Okay.
And that's all for me, you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
Laz, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Laz Bosch. I think some of you might recognize me from the STEM panel a few months ago, so it's good to see some familiar faces along with some new faces. I'm also Darcy's neighbor, so that's how I came to know many of you and more about Penrose. Been living here for a little over a year now. So I've been loving my time here at the Pike, and hopefully that continues long term, like many of you have been around in the Pike for a long time now. Excited to be the education chair. And some of you have heard in our STEM panel, my background's in STEM education outreach. And I'm looking forward to not only working closely with other schools in the area or parents in the Penrose area, always looking to be lifelong learners for their kids and do things for them. But now more than ever, federal employees, I think, are seeing mass layoffs. So looking also to see what kind of resources as the education chair might be available for more professional folks. I'm personally like impacted by it and know a lot of people in the Arlington area that, and especially the Penrose area that are impacted by it. We've been seeing an uptick on the Facebook groups of people asking for resources, networking events, and we've been also seeing an uptick of people asking for any sort of services like resume, workshops, tax help, and other kinds of like other professional development. We've been seeing a lot more participants more recently at the Columbia Pike library, getting some tax submission support and resume support by what I've been hearing from some of the employees there. So it's good to see that people are aware of what's available, but I think that we can be doing more as well, always to help folks.
That's awesome. Thanks, Laz. And you were instrumental in you and Margaret doing that STEM panel, which I was telling Margaret we could definitely get it, have Marymount or George Mason University having that exact same panel out there would be perfect. So, get us out of the church and onto the grand stage for, hundreds and hundreds of college age students would be fantastic. So looking forward to working with you. Looking forward to having you on our committee here. Okay. So, yeah, we already touched on the general meeting. Okay. So I don't want to waste any more of JD's time. He's been very gracious. He's a very busy guy. So those who don't know Mr. Spain, he's been a long-time resident. He's been here close to, I would say, he can correct me, I'm sure, close to 15 years here in the neighborhood. He's a retired combat veteran of the United States Marine Corps with over 26 years of service. He's been a former congressional fellow of the United States Senate and a diplomat with a 4-year assignment in Brussels, Belgium. His deep civic roots here in Arlington speak for themselves, notably as his most notable role as president of the Arlington branch NAACP since 2008, and his time as award-winning regional vice president of the Virginia NAACP, which he may still be on taking that duty. He's one of our Penrose neighbors here, obviously, and he lives close to me down the street in the Butler Home subdivision. And his daughters are even themselves graduates of Arlington Public Schools. So he's certainly a stakeholder and a shareholder here in our Arlington community. So I thought this would be a good time, a good Q&A with him, introduce him to the neighborhood. Very long overdue. So, Mr. Spain, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, President. And I'm put a few things here in the chat. I was wondering what was taking you so long to get me here, man? What's going on? It is good to be home. Look, thank you for such a kind introduction as well. Today actually is day number 50 that I am on the county board officially. And I'm loving every minute of it. I really am. I think you get into this line of work because you want to be really make a difference and help people's lives, right? And I think the perspective that I bring to the table is one that's definitely unique. Not so much unique in the sense that I'm the only person to have these experiences, but for a person who grew up in South Carolina, and I remember my grandmother, my mom and dad would drop us off at my grandma and grandpa house as they went to work, and my grandmother had no running water. They had an outhouse down in South Carolina. And, here I am, 52 years old, traveled the world, attained my college degree, did so many great things. It's like, look how far we've come. And I've only got to this point, not so much by myself, but because of the help of others, and definitely mentorship along the way and a good solid foundation. So being here in Penrose, my wife and I, this was not our first stop in Arlington. When we moved here in 2009 from Brussels, Belgium, we didn't know much about DC. And, we came back and traveled for like 6 days, maybe a couple months before in 2008 to try to find a place to live. Over in Brussels, everybody's on the tube and bikes and you're walking. We're like, let's get a place where we can be close to the rail. And we thought it was just like magnificent. We're gonna get a place out in Burke next to VRE. Guess what? I'm so glad we didn't move out to Burke and the VRE because my wife was at State Department. But anyway, we got to Arlington and lived up in at the Horizons East and West for about 7 months while our kids went to Yorktown, Williamsburg, and Glebe. And she went over to State. I went to Henderson Hall or Fort Myer and started doing some house hunting. And we put in offer after offer after offer. Back then it was really expensive. The market was going down, but we ended up finding a house in Penrose on a cul-de-sac on First Place South. And it was a heaven sent. And so our kids are now, so we bought a house. Our kids are now 31, 30, 26. And if you follow me on Facebook, I have a 3.5-year-old granddaughter who I just love to death. But they're all graduates of Arlington Public Schools. My life has been one of giving back, community, public service, but also quite diverse, right? Whether it's been working on Capitol Hill, working in the Pentagon, working in very spooky places and SCIFs, working in the nonprofit sector, and also working on a couple working groups and a commission here at Arlington County to include NAACP. So I bring a breadth of knowledge and experience to this space. That's all kind of like campaign talk, right? But I am very proud of Penrose. I can say this area because I went back and looked at the numbers from November 5th, and I'm so 60% of the voters in Penrose voted me in this precinct that I'm in. This is my home. So I'm so thankful for that. But for the ones that did not even, perhaps I was not their number one, I understand that my role is not to be just a leader for Penrosians, but all of Arlington, right? And, regardless of a person's socioeconomic dynamic or their background or the color, race, creed, their religion, I'm here to help everyone. And that's the lens that I bring to the table. So I would consider myself a thoughtful leader, a very deliberate leader, empathetic leader, but I like to get things done. And Alex, I think if anybody follows my career, I get things done, right? And maybe that's the Marine in me, I don't know. But failure is not an option. So I do want to say a few things tonight, but I also want to open it up to questions. And again, many of you on this call, I consider really close friends and neighbors, of course. But we are, these past 50 days, I've been immersed in, fire hose, right? Here it all is, JD. There's one thing of being an advocate and working on the outside, and then there's another aspect of being, down at 2100 Clarendon and getting briefed by every department under the sun and knowing what's going on in this amazing county we call Arlington, which I love so dearly. We have some challenges ahead. You just heard a second ago about what's going on across the river, and we're not immune, nor are a lot of people across our nation are immune from what's happening with our federal workforce. A lot of my friends also are contractors that have been laid off. We're talking about some aspects of federal funding that may affect us here in Arlington. So we at the county board right now, as we get ready to present, or the county manager is going to present this Saturday, and I hope everyone can tune in the budget for FY26 so we can get an idea on what we're looking at. We're already up against about a $25 million shortfall, okay? That being said, I will tell you what I have stated in a couple of calls already, but more especially to the county manager. My goal, what I would hope my colleagues and I can do working along with the county manager, is I don't want to see property taxes or real estate taxes go up this year at all, right? For a number of reasons. But we are going to have to move some stuff around, I believe, as it relates to some of our essential services and programs here in Arlington. I think that is the, I call it the alligator closest to the boat when we talk about, our values as a community and our funding and your tax dollars, to ensure that we are spending it the right way, right? Not on the nice glowy objects and things, but making sure that we're getting our bang for the buck and we're doing the good will of the people. So I'm gonna do my due diligence along, I think, with the other 4 members of the county board to be laser focused on our programming. As it relates to Columbia Pike and Penrose and the South Side, our chair came over, chair of the county board, I think Alex came to the Pike president, the state of the Pike, a few days ago, about 10 days ago, and talked about, what's going on along Columbia Pike when we talk about multimodal and a host of other things. It is true. We're looking at the fall time frame of a lot of that major construction being completed. But I will tell you, because I am a big patron of the Columbia Pike area, that it pains me every time I go out of here to go up and down that pike, because I'm suffering just like everyone else. My tires are running in potholes, and the sidewalks are like no longer in existence, and it is hurting our businesses. So I just want you to know that I understand that. I was just at my dentist's office 2 days ago, the Columbia Pike Dental, and it's just, I feel like I'm on an obstacle course trying to get to the dentist's office, and that's not fair. But we have to, for this short period of time, I think we're going to have to endure just a little bit more so we can have, we kind of revitalize that Columbia Pike a bit, right? When I first heard of this and they were briefing me up, the county board, about this 2-year project, and I was like, well, in so many ways, I don't think in other parts of the county would have took 2 years, all right? And I didn't bite my tongue much, all right? I feel as though, a lot of times on this side of Arlington, we get the bad end of the stick, whether indirectly or for a number of reasons, or failure to have good advocacy. But you can best believe your bottom dollar on this one, that I'm not going to waver not 1 minute or 1 second to make sure Columbia Pike and the South Side of Arlington does not get left behind when it comes to policy shaping. I think when I talked about in my, campaign, was that we're one Arlington, but something I also bring to the lens is a lens of, let's treat everybody fair and equal. Okay. And so unless there's some really significant safety issues, then I want to make sure these projects and developments that are fair across the board. So I just want you to know up front that I get it. I'm on the Pike almost every day, right? And I feel the pain of our businesses. I know there's been some questions about, perhaps what can we do as a county to waive some of the business tax, and we've heard back from our county attorney, because of the Dillon rule, we can't do that, but we need to find mechanisms. And I'm exploring all kind of opportunities, perhaps, to help our businesses. This is a personal note. If anyone came to my swearing-in ceremony in December, I got a business from the Pike, Saboras, to come and do the catering, and they did well because I love, they need help. So what I would say to those businesses, and to you is, and more especially to you, we have Arlington Economic Development. We have our biz launch. We've talked with Columbia Pike Partnership to the extent we can, but it's going to take a village, right, for us to help our businesses get through. So patronize those businesses, send friends there. I know it may be tough to navigate a few of those spaces, but in the interim, they need our help. I won't point out any one business in particular. All of them are suffering, some more than others, because they're used to a certain level of revenue coming in, and that's no longer happening, right? And so we're going to get through this. I know you have DES coming next month, Mr. President, to come and speak with the group, perhaps in person. And if I am available, I would love for you to put me back on the agenda to at least be there again next month when they're giving their presentation. You know me, I'm a social butterfly. I don't mind virtual. I love meeting people in person. I think sometimes having that face-to-face, shaking the hand, you know, engagement is always well and good. A few more things before I really want to open up for questions. I think we end at 8? Is that what happens? We end at 8? Okay. So if I put into the chat a few, you know, my site on at the board. At that link, you will find my email. You will also find an email or a way to contact my board aide. My board aide came on board last week, an outstanding individual, so she's new. So if you're trying to reach out to me or find me, you feel free to email my aide as well. But I also put a link to the organizational meeting that we had, whereby I spoke specifically about some of the priorities that I want to address this year, right? So if you get time and you're, you want me to put you to sleep, click the link and it's YouTube. And you can hear everything JD said for about 7 minutes. That being said, I'll try to be succinct and tell you just high end, like some of the areas that I'm focused on. I heard reference to tree canopy earlier tonight. I also talked about that in the organizational meeting, and something I told the county is that I'm not wavering on the tree equity fund or the tree, the monies associated with the tree canopy fund. I'm also a person who has, I have trees in my yard, but I also got 3 additional trees. And in Penrose, as you know, we can do, we can have some more trees here. So looking to make sure we have the right money, enough money, hopefully about $250,000 in that fund this year, for our tree equity canopy program, because I believe in that. And there was a report the county did back in November where we saw that, tree coverage in general, we're about 35%. We want to get to 40% growth in due time. And it's going to take all of our efforts on that, because climate change is real, right? And we know in parts of South Arlington, we have some heat deserts, right? And we want to do a better job, not just with tree canopy, but being environmentally friendly with how we build. That being said, we see what's going on with the Career Center. And that's kind of tied to, I think we could have done more there as far as the environmental aspect, but it's being erected now. It's going to be a lot of, traffic and disruption there for a little while, but let's just bear with it. And I think at the end of the day, that's going to be a really good space, a good building and structure when we talk about our environment and build out. I only talk about that and the trees because those are things you can really see up front right now. Public safety, make no mistake about it. That was also an issue that I talked about. I view public safety as, we've had some incidents whereby in the past, some crime has occurred, right, in our area. We also are up against, some challenges within the police department when it comes to personnel. There's still about 60 vacancies. I heard that today. We're having a hard time for whatever reason. It's not just Arlington. Even with some incentives and some bonuses that we're giving folks to find a lot of suitable and get candidates in there. So a lot of our officers are doing overtime. That's not to negate the fact that, to our most important and critical services, they won't show up. But I just share that with you because we have some challenges, right? There's public safety, there's response times. I want to make sure we have our police department right size. I want to make sure that we give them the tools to be successful. I want to make sure also that folks can move around in our community freely and not have to fear. I had a conversation last night with a large group called La Colectiva. I don't want them also to fear that, and this is a reality, we have people that are fearful of federal government overreach when it comes to public safety in our communities. All right, so that's something that I'm very cognizant of, again, and so I just want you to be aware, because we are in a very diverse segment, area of Arlington, that we have families that are fearful of even going outside and going to the grocery store, right? In fact, even sending their kids to school. And we have libraries they don't want to go to because they're afraid that someone, Again, I'm not going to use names of organizations, but they may show up. So that is a reality. And I mean that with all sincerity. I was on a call with regional leaders in Alexandria, Falls Church, in Washington, D.C. today, and that resonated in the corridor. That is going on with families. They fear overreach by federal law enforcement agencies. And so as leaders, we have to be ever so vigilant. I mean, if an agent or someone shows up with a warrant signed, that's a whole different, but to impose themselves in total disregard of people's, rights, that's not going to be tolerated, right? But along those lines with public safety, we're also talking about, bike lanes, sidewalks, but all of those things, street light. I mean, there's a lot that goes on under the umbrella of public safety. I say we can walk and chew gum at the same time. But for me, I just want to make sure our communities are safe. And I know, Mr. President, there's been some issues over the past year or so that you have reached out, and I saw that. And I'm glad that ACPD now has a liaison, I believe, that is assigned to Penrose, or someone you can reach out to, right?
Yeah, I believe so. We're talking about the same person. Usually I just forward my correspondence to Deputy Chief Vincent, who's probably the quickest to respond.
But I will say if it gets to a point whereby, and I think that the police department is doing well, but if you have any issues with public safety or crime, just let me know. Okay. And I'll make sure we don't, because we want our families and folks feeling safe down here across Arlington, but I think you have a good connection there. Let me also say two more things. Schools and youth programs. The county, about a year or so ago, before I came on board, after a lot of advocacy talked about setting aside some one-time money for youth programs after school and in the summer. I just want to give you an update that at next week's recess meeting, the county manager is going to give an update on where that money is, how we intend to spend it. I'm monitoring that closely because, if many of you may recall, that was a really serious issue. We had some unfortunate deaths of youth. We had some mental health challenges. We've had some things going on where youth were involved, and we think that having some services available across all of Arlington is appropriate to kind of help mitigate some of those factors. So we're working on that, and that's something that's going to be reported out as well next week. Let me get to this Saturday, because I think it's also important for you to know. The county board we will be talking about what are the next steps when it comes to ranked choice voting. And should we continue with the pilot program? If you don't know, the county board has adopted ranked choice voting to be used in primary elections. And now we use it also in the general election. So we're looking at, do we want to pilot the program again for another general election? Now, I'm not here to sway anybody, but I would say if you want your voices to be heard and how you felt about ranked choice voting, write a letter to the county board or come testify. I have thoughts about it. I was the first candidate to go through it in the general election. And I think, folks need to really, consider if it's a program that we should keep. Okay. I'll just leave it at that. So your thoughts, your concerns about ranked choice voting, because that's another issue tied to elections, right? That you're going to be involved in. And if you don't get involved now, when it comes out in November and we're like, oh, here's another thing of ranked choice voting. Okay. JD came and told you. Because nothing should be going on underneath the surface here. We're also going to be taking on a big issue, doesn't so much apply to this particular our neighborhood, but also the Melwood project, which in and of itself has been going on long before I showed up. It's about 3 years, but basically it's on the south side of Arlington, where we're at, down on the other side of, if you don't know where Melwood's at, down next other side of Arlington Ridge, a pretty significant project. I'll just say that. So you can read up on it. The county board is going to be making a decision on a couple of things there come this week as well on Saturday. And also, I would just say that, I tell folks, see something, say something. When I was an advocate, when I was out in the community, right? Many of you don't know, again, I'll say it again, I didn't bite my tongue for much. I was always respectful and courteous. But when I came to someone to tell them the issue, I also gave a solution, right? At least my thoughts of what a solution should be. And never shy away from reaching out to me or people in county government, the local, and tell them how you feel about issues. What I don't see enough of, and I don't see enough of our citizens a lot of times being involved in the processes, right? And it's very important, especially early on, whether that's a new project development. And I bet you that we're going to have many projects come up along the Columbia Pike corridor in the coming years. Why do I say that? Because if you look across Roslyn, Boston, National Landing, Crystal City, there's only so many areas left, right, where you can really do some revitalization or development. Langston Boulevard, that corridor, there was a big decision made a year or so ago. What do you think is going to be happening next? Okay, so we need to be mindful of what may be happening or coming to our community early on. And if I see something, I'm going to say something, right? But I want the citizens also to step up and say something, and guide me, right? As I close, I will say this: I take this seat, this opportunity to sit in this seat, not because I own it. This is your seat. And I'm not pandering. This is your seat. This is the people's seat. I could be here 48 months, or I could be out of here who knows whenever God decides to take me home. But while I'm here, I'm going to give it my best, right? And my best may not always end up being what you want, but I would hope that in the good of this community, in the good of being good residents, right, that we can find ways to compromise. What I see a lot of is us versus them. Us versus them gets us nowhere. If everyone's going to pick and get in their little corner and decide that they're not going to budge and compromise, we're not going to get anywhere. So I'm going to try to meet you where you are. I'm going to try to meet you halfway. Sometimes I may agree exactly what you're saying, but let's see what we can do to work together in peace and harmony, especially given what's going on now in our national environment. Peace and harmony, y'all. All right, with that being said, I want to open it up for questions. I'm glad to see so many early career professionals on this call. Nothing against some of my folks like myself. Again, I'm over 50, but to hear some of those names coming up and people taking up positions, that gives me goosebumps. That lets me know that Penrose is going to be all right. And Alex, I'm waiting on some Penrosian t-shirts. So
that's our next art project. Absolutely. Okay. Sounds good to me.
I'm clear I didn't answer all the questions, but I'm here to answer the ones I can. Please, and thank you for your time. So floor is yours. Turn it back over.
Absolutely. So this is Laz's question. I'll go to Terry. I'll make sure everybody gets 5 minutes here. So Laz Bosch in the chat here asked, what kind of resources or events are there for impacted federal employees, nonprofits, and contractors? In his own personal right, he is personally affected along with others who are on the brink of layoffs or have already been layoffs. He says that in other counties such as Fairfax and Montgomery, hiring in local state positions, they're offering rent assistance along with sharing various professional development resources. So what is Arlington doing right now to help wade us through this huge, federal employee, contractor, and nonprofit crisis?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. So I can tell you, we have identified some programs that we want to enhance. There has not been one particular program spearheaded by the county yet. There's been some external partners, some external agencies. I know, again, I don't want to invoke. I know there's an event going on at the library coming up. I think it's this weekend or perhaps early next week. That's going to talk just to that about opportunities for federal employees. We have a myriad of, rent and home assistance programs already in place for Arlington residents. I think also in Arlington County, what we've done is kind of beefed up to the extent we can. When I say beefed up, we've shared a lot of our openings. We've seen a mass uptick in federal employees applying for some of the jobs that are open here in Arlington. And I think that is, oh, look at Laura, my good friend, showing up. Got them, took me off. These are my buddies right here. Our kids went to school together. But Laz, I think we're doing the best we can. There's a lot more work to be done. There's a regional, actually a task force that's being put together, not only in the General Assembly, but something here in Northern Virginia, which hasn't really found its legs and come out publicly yet. But having a conversation with the county manager today and a few others, we're well on our way to doing more. And I wish I had more to say about concretely, this is what we have. But I think the Dems, even Arlington County Dems, is going to do something here. And I'll see if I can find a link and drop it here in a few days for federal employees. In fact, a few others. We have, also allocated, some one-time funding. We've put that out for some of our immigrant communities and folks who have for legal aid, given what's going on. So we've done some portions of that through another party, because the county just can't, do legal services for citizens. So we have we've given some money out, or provided funds, but there's much more work to be done. Okay. And again, my wife's a Fed. She's at State Department, and every day she comes home and she tells me, JD, Julius, well, she calls me Big Head sometimes. But after 32 years, she can call me whatever she wants. That, it's challenges, it's struggles, right? That's going on. So we're seeing, there was another question that came up today about, we're seeing as expected, some uptick in unemployment claims, right? I know in DC, for example, they've seen, at least in this quarter, at least 4,000 more claims go up, 4,000. That's significant. So I would expect, even in Virginia, in Northern Virginia in particular, so we have a lot of, federal presence, that we'll probably see those numbers go up. So we're trying to, anticipate, and I think the budget is also going to showcase some of that loss, to be prepared for what may happen with some of our families who need assistance. Okay.
Awesome. I appreciate you answering that. I'm going to put in the chat. My current organization's impacted right now by federal funds, but while we're still employed, we've been doing, it might be helpful for you to know, Federal Employee Explainer Series. There are these webinars where folks that are recently laid off or current feds, so your wife's welcome to attend. And we're doing workshops, and in the coming weeks, we're going to have LinkedIn join as well. I'm more on the back end, kind of managing the Zooms and creating the websites and all that stuff. But that might be some resources that you can model after for the county as well, or if there's any support I can do to support you and your team. We're thinking through that, let me know.
I know I wasn't going to get through this without Terry coming after me. So Terry, while you gnawing away at a Scooby snack, come at me. Let's go, sister.
Not Scooby snacks, pistachios. So I had 2 questions, but now I have 3.
Okay.
Because you brought up Melwood. And you said you were looking for solutions, and the Aurora Heights Civic Association has long ago provided detailed blueprints of what the community would find acceptable to be a partner with Melwood, instead of shoved down their throats in a massive building that doesn't fit in that neighborhood. So they shared with the county board. I've seen the documents. There's a lot of thought in it, and there's your solution, but it hasn't been looked at all, or even taken seriously by the county. That's Melwood. Now, I'm going way off topic here, but we had a plane crash here a couple of weeks ago. People lost their lives. I, for one, who fly out of Reagan all the time, did not know that my life was literally in danger if you fly at night in Reagan Airport, because of the military literally doing exercises in the oncoming landing and takeoff patterns. However, my understanding is 2 county board members are assigned to be on the commission that oversees the airport authority. And they did know that these exercises were going on. So definitely public safety here. Did nobody, and I know you just got appointed to it or whatever, but.
An airport liaison.
Okay, liaison. But regardless, before you, there were others, and certainly they knew this was happening. And I feel really kind of quite angry that nobody bothered to warn the citizens that you were literally taking your life in your hand if you fly out of Reagan or land at Reagan at night. I feel it was incumbent on the county to let people know that this is happening and to take precautions by taking day flights or something like that. So I would ask if you could get to the bottom of why we were never told that it is very dangerous to fly out of that airport. Okay. And let us know what can be done about that in the future. That's question one. The second, so if you could just let us know as a group, put something together and share it with Alex and he could pass it on or whatever. The second thing is, as we've seen go by the wayside, DEI, Walmart, Target, Ace Hardware, Amazon, one of the first ones to jump on that bandwagon. And so you're not going to like this question, but you took money from them after the election. And I want to know, are you willing to give it back and shove it in their faces? Because literally, they're supposed to be a partner here to us. And what they've done is jump on the complete other side of the train tracks there. And it's a bad look. I got to tell you, just, you know, I know everybody wants to pay off their debt, but not from them. Not from them. So I'm asking you to think about handing them that check back. That's my solution.
All right, you want me to?
I do want you to weigh in. Yes,
I will. Okay, so to the top of the question, as you talked about Aurora Highlands, as you are perhaps innately aware, the Melwood project is one that's probably going on year number 3, and is getting to a point now where you know, there's been a lot of, you know, I guess back and forth community input letters from Aurora Highlands in their association, which granted they have every right to make that decision. I also know that the applicant themselves have also perhaps made some changes or modifications to the site from inception. All those concerns that are being brought forward by way of the Civic Association, Aurora Highlands, are being carefully considered and looked at, not only by myself, but also through our commissions, which have many of whom have already voted, right? And it went ad nauseum at some of these meetings and to hearing some of the questions and concerns that have come up. I think we still have a few days to go about this project, and I'm going to have to make a decision ultimately. Something I ran on, and to be quite honest, and you mentioned it, was listening to the community. And at the end of the day, I'm going to have to make a determination on, one, is this project a great need for our community? Is it a need we have? And have we done our due diligence to adhere to guidelines? And have we done robust community engagement? A host with a few other things that may go on. So I hear you. I think I'm probably getting correspondence almost every day about Melwood and other projects across Arlington. But I appreciate your thoughts on that. To the plane crash, I will tell you that the NTSB, and this is not to put everything on the federal government, of course, is investigating what's going on with this crash. I fly out of Reagan probably, if many people that follow me, I don't know, 10, 15 times a year, if not more, on my way to Myrtle Beach. And it did scare the heckin' living Jesus out of me. But I also believe, as a military person, right, who's been able to listen to some of the reports and even from the military, there's a couple things that we don't know, right? Was the pilot in and of themselves flying below a certain threshold? I heard it was on a training mission. That being said, your point is well taken. It's not the first time we've had this type of air traffic going on in Reagan, and it's something that, it's one of the busiest airports in America. And I know that Don Beyer and a few other folks, to include a lot of people on the Hill right now, because a lot of those legislators use DCA every Thursday at night. Fly back to home district. I used to work on the Hill. So that too, a loss of life, it really pains me. We could say that we saw this coming in large part, but let's let NTSB do their full report. I think there's some preliminary reports out right now. And trust, I too am just as concerned about air traffic in and around that area, which is quite busy. To the piece about, now you may know, maybe not know, in the course of my tenure of being out in the community, I also had the opportunity to be certified as a DEIA, not even a practitioner, but a person who, went through a long program at George Mason, did some work in corporate space. I understand all the aspects of DEIA. I want to believe that I actually can instruct it. What Amazon did and many others, played, whatever to the president's EO, internal to their agency. It's very unfortunate. They did not disband their Black Employee Council and a few other places. There's a lot of error. There's a lot of problems there. And that goes along with a lot of companies. The companies have to identify where their values are. I can't tell Amazon how to lead, but I will say this, as a person who back in 2017, 2018, I forgot when it was, when Amazon was thinking about coming here, I was one of the first people down at the county board meeting saying no to Amazon coming to Arlington. And what I told them was, if you come here, you need to be a good steward of our community. Now, did they deliver on that whole altogether? Many would say perhaps yes, but I'll also say they have given and tried their best. A lot of folks know Patrick, who's the liaison now for community engagement. A lot of our nonprofit programs, a lot of our, with this Path Forward, you just name them. A lot of them are still surviving only because of large scale commitment from Amazon. The question I have, and the challenge we have, is what I've always said: Amazon should not be the only person we are able to go to as a nonprofit or anyone else. Companies need to go to, we need other entities to invest in our community outside of Amazon. To giving the money back, I'm sorry, that money came after the campaign. I was doing a fundraiser to close out my debt. They offered, I sent it out to a lot of folks. Unions gave me money, they gave me money. That money's been spent. I don't have it in return. So that being said, I will not be returning $5,000 to Amazon. And so I did not intentionally take money from them while I was running for office. And I don't plan to take money from them again while I'm running for office. But if they want to contribute to help me close my debt, and then so be it. A lot of that debt, I'll be quite honest with you. For people who have never ran a campaign, it's expensive. $35,000 of that I spent out of my own pocket. All right. And if anybody can go to VPAP and look at the reports, it's a lot of money that I ended up raising. And I had to do that just to win. It should not cost that much to run a race in Arlington. We need serious campaign finance reform, but we cannot get the people, for whatever reason, even some Democrats, down in Richmond, to move forward with it. I support campaign finance reform. I'll tell you, I think there should be limits to contributions, the whole gamut. But it is very unfortunate. It's almost like pay to play. If you make the money, you got the money, then you can get involved. That should not be how Laz and Sonia and whoever else, be able to run, not questioning your income, but anybody should be able to run, and it should be that much of a barrier. And there is a barrier, y'all. I'm just going to be honest with you. I've been through it. And if I had not had the resources and the money, then I couldn't participate in it. But, so Terry, I thank you for your question. I think we're going to, and I told Amazon, I'm still going to hold Amazon and others accountable for their engagements here in the county. They have made large scale commitments to some of our housing programs, AHIP fund, and many other programs to keep some of our nonprofits and stakeholders alive, basically. And I think that's being good community. There's other Fortune 500s here in Arlington that haven't given us a dime. And those are the ones we need to go after.
Hey, JD, I have one more thing because you brought it up also. I'm sorry, because I know people have their hand up.
All right, go ahead, Terry.
Tree canopy fund.
Yes.
The problem submitting applications is an IT problem. And
Okay.
I asked them to try to work with the county to borrow an IT engineer to help them fix it. That to me was a solution. Wasn't going to cost anything because the person that's currently doing that is not capable. And she told me that herself. She's not capable of doing it. And it needs to be fixed because we do need trees.
Yes.
This is a program that Tierney did it before me. Tierney did it for a couple of years and then I took over and I've been doing it for like 12 or 15 years. And I love trees, but if you can't submit an application, there's no point. I mean, you know, we're done. So the county needs to help them with people power in the form of an IT engineer and fix this process. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry.
Yeah.
Tierney and then Anshu.
Hi. Is that me?
No, keep going.
Okay, I've lived here in Penrose for about 25 years. I have come to know my neighbors as not just my neighbors, they're my very dear, dear friends. A lot of them work for the federal government, and they're scared and they're hurt because the messaging that's coming out from the regime across the river is that the federal government workers are fraudulent, wasting American money, and they're being laid off en masse in meetings, Zoom meetings with hundreds of people or template letters that target their performance when that's not what this is about. And these people are hurting and they're looking for leadership from the Democratic Party, and that is you, JD. They need resources, and I'm glad to hear that you and your co-board members have already started to put together resources for people. Whatever it is that you put together, it needs to be significant and it needs to be broadcast to these people that are hurting right now. And my hope is that maybe you can have a special tab on your county board website where people can know exactly where they need to go to find resources, because they're faced with losing their homes, they're faced with losing their healthcare coverage for their children, not being able to put food on the table. This is a huge loss, and these people have worked sometimes decades in public service, doing an amazing job for this country. And the messaging that's coming out from the regime across the river is that that is not the case. So I would hope to see you and the board members do something in particular for our federal government employees who are being laid off. I also think it's really important, you touched on this earlier, that children can be able to go to school and not be afraid that ICE is going to come knocking for them, and that our transgender youth can go to school and not feel bullied, or that people seem to think that they now have the right to bully our transgender youth, and we need to find ways to protect them as well. So that's a huge amount, it's a huge ask, and I'm hoping that you and your board members are really going to put something significant together to help the community, because we're really suffering here. Finally, I would like to know, do you know, have we already lost any federal funding? And if we have, what programs or benefits are going to be impacted by that loss?
Thank you. Yep. Thank you, Terry, for those questions and your comments. And your accent just makes me think about my 7 years in Europe. I don't know whether it's Europe or maybe down under, may I ask?
England, thank you.
Okay, great. First, I alluded to this a little bit earlier about the federal government and what we're doing. And, You say it's a regime over there. I call it a bunch of bullies and cowards and con artists.
Did JD freeze? Let me text him. I just texted him. It was Trump smacking him back for talking smack. Let me see if we can get him unfrozen.
Well, Alex, while we're waiting for JD to come back, I had another update and that I forgot earlier.
Sure.
Myself and the executive committee are putting together an annual report for 2024 that will show much, but not all, activities that we worked on this past year, what we accomplished, and some things still remain outstanding. But I hope it was written to give you and the neighborhood residents an idea of how much is done for Penrose by everyone, including its residents. And it's a reminder too, I think, even for me, when I was writing it, the initial draft was, gee, we have done a lot. And I hope you agree, but it's something to share with you. And I hope you see it as a goodwill effort to say, that well, for me personally, I enjoy living here in Penrose. I've learned a lot over the 21 years I've lived here. And I've met many good people. And as Tierney was just saying a few minutes ago, I made friends with many folks. But it's a good area, a good neighborhood. And I enjoy meeting the people and what I get to do for the neighborhood. So look for that in the next few days after the final draft's reviewed. I think JD might be back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, good. Well, take it away, JD.
Yeah, thank you. I
So
don't know.
JD, we actually didn't hear anything, and you started to speak, and then we lost you. So you got.
Okay. I don't know what's going on.
Please.
So let me get through this. So one, thank you. The federal government, you talked about, and what I was mentioning is that there are just a bunch of bullies, roughhouse, con artists across the way who are getting rid of folks, many of whom are on probation, the probationary period, and that, and of course, is just not fair. You think about leadership, it's zero leadership over there. And as a person who's worn the cloth of this nation and raised my hand to defend this nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic, I can't help but think from time to time that we have enemies right here over here across the Potomac, and it's sad. That does, but what that means is, to your point, we need steadfast, we need steady leadership here in Arlington, and we need to be forward facing when we think about our federal employees and the resources that they may need, and to make it public and let it be known. Journey, I appreciate that. I'm gonna see what I can do. Alex, hold me accountable to this, to see if I can not only get a tab or something on our county board, but actually get something out publicly broadcasted to talk about resources for federal employees here in Arlington. Okay. And let me go back and speak with the county manager and a few people tomorrow, and I think I can make that happen. You also mentioned our amazing citizens in the LGBTQ plus community, our persons with disabilities, who I hold in high admiration, who are being unjustly treated, whether that's bullying in school with some of our students. I will also tell you that, there's a couple of school board members, all of them in general, who are hypersensitive and aware of what's been going on with some of our schools and also with some of our youth. So it may be also feasible or great, Alex, at some point in time, to bring maybe the last two school board members, Soraya and Kathleen, to this space to talk about, what is APS doing? Because they're going to go into budget cycle as well. What are they doing to protect not only just our kids, but our kids with disabilities and our kids with the LGBTQ plus community who are being targeted, who are being in ways that are unjust and not fair, and no one's being held accountable for it. So I really appreciate you elevating that because, you know, as a person who comes out of the civil rights arena and one who understands discrimination, no one should be treated that way. Okay. And so we see something, we need to say something, and we also need to hold these bad actors accountable, even in Arlington. Even in Arlington. All right. Arlington's not immune for societal ills, but if someone's doing something they have no business to our citizens and they're here in Arlington, let's hold them accountable. So Tyranny, I'm on that. I'll see what I can do about getting something public facing and get some information out for feds. But I appreciate you bringing that up. And again, I said my wife's a Fed. We talk about it almost every day when she comes home. She's over with the Office of Foreign Missions, the State Department. So I mean, she's kind of, I guess, perhaps safe because she's a whatever 15, but it's still, you know, it's still challenging for all feds, and you just got to navigate this space for all, you know, for folks, and it's not easy. Families are being, you know, bills got to get paid, food got to get put on the table, right? And, you know, people are struggling. And the second and third order effects of that, again, of us not doing something, or, you know, you may see homelessness go up. We may see, you know, low level crime, perhaps. You may see crime even can go up, right? You can see displacement of folks, food insecurity, right? All of those factors. So we got to be ready and willing. And that's why I said earlier, I think we're going to have some cushion on the backside of the budget to help with those families that are going to be in need, not just in Arlington, but also think about, you know, this region is getting impacted tough with what's going on. All right. I think there was another question, maybe Anshu.
One last question here, and then I think we might let me double check the chat. So go ahead.
Sure, I'll try to be quick. I got some research tasks I gotta take care of. I echo all of Tierney's comments regarding supporting students. It's like it's really heartbreaking. It's like the started being a case where an 11-year-old took their own life after being bullied over the family's immigration status. I echo Terry's comments regarding the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And with that, and I put this in the chat, I have to really object to the way that housing project in Melwood, which I support and which I hope to show up in person in courthouse this weekend to support, unless I get lost, which happens I'm still learning how to bicycle in Arlington County. It's really, really disheartening to hear a much needed housing project that's gonna generate a lot of housing be described as like shoved down their throats. Arlington County needs more housing. My apartment mate and I, our rent went up by over 5% at our last lease renewal less than a year ago. We've got another one coming up in a few months. Our county needs more housing, and I've heard about vacancies and developers and all. Like, if we look at the facts, there is a housing shortage in Arlington County. There's a housing shortage all across the nation, and I don't trust our federal government to fix it. So on that note, I want to ask $2,600 Columbia Pike. I know there's supposed to be, like, based on Errol now reporting, there's supposed to be grocery tenant, maybe Amazon or somewhere, but they pulled out, and now there's just a CVS, and there's a lot of space that could be used for housing and shops. And I wanted to ask, it's like, I asked Takas about this, but I failed to follow up. Unfortunately, that's on me, but I want to ask JD, thank you for being with us tonight. Are there plans to fund development on 2600 Pike, especially regarding to housing?
I can answer. I was literally just on an hour-long meeting with the new developers for that project. I'm going to share this out on our Facebook page. Yes, there is a new plan. It's not from the same developers with Christopher Companies, Christopher Land LLC, who are doing the 88-unit Elkins building where Acme Pie is. So there's a new company that's coming in and doing this. I have everything written down. Give me 1 second. It is Toll Brothers, Toll Brothers, like a troll, yeah, or toll, like a parking toll, yeah.
Yep, I'm familiar with them. Yeah.
So they're looking at building mixed-use retail there, similar to style retail to what we have there with apartments on top of it. So, and it's similar to what we're getting, or we're supposed to get it all through with the Elliott development there. I have to look at it side by side, but I will be putting up a full blueprint of what I have, information to me, and they will also have. I'm also happy to have the developers join us this upcoming month or whenever they're ready to give a full, full-on presentation for everything they have put together. But from what they've told me and reiterated to me numerous times, it falls completely within the current constraint for the Columbia Pike form-based code with how this is laid out. And as far as the housing goes, sorry, I'm going through my notes here. There are 260 residential units
Okay.
And with these other projects, there was supposed to be 247 or 274. I keep switching those two. But this will be 260. The form-based code, you have to adhere to 1.15 parking spaces per unit. So I am glad to hear that there's going to be ample parking, at least 93 spaces on the ground floor. There's going to be 1,600 square feet of retail at the front of the building with parking at grade and quality signage. So what I told them, send me everything, even if it's bullet point, what you got, and we'll put that up on our Facebook page. And I'm happy to send you a copy of that. So good news. And they want to get this done as expeditiously as possible and get this hopefully past all the, county board vote and all the other, things metrics they have to meet by the end of this year to get to a building stage on this. So it's been quite a heartbreak for us, as everybody knows. I mean, we all live here together. So having that whole 2,600 block fall through November 2022 was a disaster. So hopefully this will be a remedy.
Awesome. Thanks.
I just want to circle back again, and Anshu, thank you for what your comments, and I'm looking forward to your testimony. As I tell folks, all disabilities aren't seen. So I'm a disabled veteran, right? I also have a cousin down in South Carolina who suffers from. I have a lot of people in my family who suffer from developmental disabilities, and I think when we look at the need here in Arlington, we don't have enough venue spaces for people who present in that way. That's one. And to the point about more housing, I think people will use. There's a lot of places that are open right now for rentals, right? Well, you just talked about how your rent is being. We don't have rent control in Arlington. You get into a space, and the next thing you know, your rent is up 5%, 10%. The place you thought you were getting into, you're not locked in. Before you know it, you're priced out. And then there's another aspect of housing that, we got to look at wages. There's folks who, housing prices are so high, even rental, that wage earners, in large part, a lot of them aren't making enough money, or they're paying over 30% of the take home for rental or for housing. And all studies point to, you should know that no one should be paying more than 30% of their income in housing costs. The other thing is, it's not just Arlington, it's regional and it's national. We have a housing shortage that needs to be addressed. And those of you that know me or followed me, I am pro housing, but I'm also smart growth, right? And I think, again, in Arlington, we can walk and chew them at the same time. It's easy for people to say no. The question is, how do we get to yes? And how do we compromise, right? Meet people not only where they are. And I will share this about Penrose, because all of us live here. If you've ever been on my street, First Place South, and I've been here 16 years, and Laura and my good friend over there across 2nd Street could tell, this place where I'm at does not look the same as it did, Alex, 5, 10, 15 years ago. Communities are going to evolve. No community can just set in place and stay, right? I'm all about making sure we continue to have the character of our neighborhood to the extent we can, but the reality is, no one community is just going to stay the way it is forever, right? You can't carve out your cove into the Arlington and say, this is it. I came to this cul-de-sac in Arlington because it was quiet, there wasn't a lot of foot traffic, and there was an expectation, right? But things have changed. I didn't know there was going to be 6, McMansions built within the past 5 years of me being here. It happened, right? But we don't, So I think we do our best to preserve the character of our neighborhoods. We do the best to make sure, we have safe modes and ways to move back and forth around the county. We make sure we try to stay environmentally friendly, right? We want to make sure we have adequate schools relative for our kids, walkable schools. We want to make sure at the end of the day that we are thriving, but we're also being innovative in our approach, right? A community that stays stagnant and does not evolve will have problems. And so we will continue to do great things here at Arlington. And there's just a lot of work to be done. So with that being said, I know it's 8:35. Are there any other questions? Please reach out to me. Yeah.
Just to ring it one more time here.
Yeah, what's going on?
This question here. We even touched upon this previously.
What's the question?
She was asked. We had touched upon this previously about ICE and immigration. She asked if there's anything that the county government can do, pushback that the local government can provide. She says she was very, what actions are being taken by the local government towards our immigrant community in these times to make sure everybody feels welcome, safe, and part of our shared beloved community, as Dr. King.
So we have said quite openly that, we aren't proactively as a community going out and working alongside federal agencies and saying, hey, people over here, we aren't, right? If there's a warrant or signed by a judge or administrative warrant and someone is being arrested, then, that's a whole different story. A lot of times from what I've been told even from ACPD is that, sometimes federal agencies show up and they don't even know about it, right? For what it's worth. I can tell you this much: in fiscal year 2024, last year, calendar year 2024, this is just ICE alone, we had 18 encounters of ICE coming into Arlington in 2024. 18. That's the number that was given to us. But your question stands true to what is it that the county can do? We are doing the best we can right now to remind our community that, we're safe, we're inclusive, you should feel protected. But I know that's hard when you turn on your TV or you go on your social media and you walk around and all you see is ICE agent here or a federal agency doing that. It is so, and it's tiresome on your mental and emotional well-being. It is. It really calls you to go into a panic attack or just all of a sudden just like want to leave and go to the mountains somewhere. But I tell you this, do not leave. Do not go anywhere. We are a strong people. We do not back down. We're not going to let a bully in chief come over here and tell us what to do in Arlington. We're here to protect you. If you see something, say something. If you feel as though you're being mistreated or something's going on, call us at the county board. Call me. Let me know. I want to give you some level of reassurance. All right. And if something is going on within the apparatus of our law enforcement, you know that we now have a community oversight board. Right. So look, we want you to be safe. I want you to be safe. Feel safe. We're one of the safest counties in America. Now we're not immune from societal ills. I know how some folks have taken what's going on and what's happened in Pentagon City, what's happened with some, car thievery and stuff going on. That happens all across America. But on ratio, we're not immune from nothing ever happening in Arlington. We just don't want it to get out of control. So that's why I want to make sure our police are right sized and that, we need your help, right? Really, if you know people that want to join the police department, encourage them to join the police department, right? And if you're a citizen here in Arlington, join the police department, right? But we're not down with lawlessness here in Arlington, okay? So the government is doing the best we can within law, law, not no executive order, okay?
Anybody else have any questions?
I will fight. I'm just telling you, I'm going to fight for us. And I also will say, bring the county board members here, make them all come, have them all come here and talk to you. I'm going to fight. I don't cut around the edges. I tell it like it is, Alex. You know that about me. I do not mind fighting. Again, I was indoctrinated in this stuff at the tender age of 17, 18, marching. I know how to be diplomatic. I know how to be sincere. I know how to be collegial, but I also know that no one's going to deserve to have their rights infringed upon here in Arlington, especially their constitutional rights. Okay, and we're going to protect that.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
I think we're good. Any other questions, comments, concerns? I think that's it.
Don't forget to invite me back next month. I may not, I just want to come in and hear what the folks are telling you if I'm available, okay?
Absolutely. Well, you're always welcome. That's for sure. Well, thank you, Mr. Spain. Appreciate your time. All your
JD, you don't have to, don't get all this. I'm JD to Penrose. You don't get all formal with me like that. I'm just JD, man. We see each other at the 7-Eleven too much.
Suburbs of Penrose, I call our area here. Yeah.
I'll see you. Take care.
Your time. Thank you. All right, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Alex. Take care all.
Absolutely.